Hold up. Hello?
Yo,
Hey, what's going on?
hold up.
One
Let me see.
second. Let me turn on my virtual camera real quick. There it is.
Yeah, let me make sure I'm using my actual good mic.
You are. I can hear you
Oh, I
loud
am?
and clear.
Okay, good. I'm well known for having trash production quality. We're working on it though. I even got a little light over here.
Absolutely not. This is loud and clear. I can see you. I can hear you. So, right off the jump, for those of you who don't know, FD Signifier is in the building. Phenomenal YouTube essayist.
Long videos.
Well, there's short ones too. You did a 14-minute video on the previous round, the previous bout that just took place last night.
Yeah, and it's already out of date. Like it's already
it's a glorious time, I feel like, for music, for culture.
And for Drake haters.
And for Drake haters, yes, exactly. Which there are many of them. I did not realize it was like that. I thought that this was like.
So the best way I could, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to actually, I'm not going to evoke certain energy, but I'll just say there's an old guard and a young guard that has despised Drake pretty much since his inception. They hate what Drake stands for in hip hop. And I've always believed that Kendrick felt just like I did. And now I'm confident in it. I made 2 years ago now, an hour and 20-minute long video about it. And I've made, I guess, a couple more videos kind of as addendum. And it's hard to even explain without, I can't think of a good way of like, just imagine a subculture, right? With a relatively rigid traditions and mores and standards that everybody had to kind of hold up to an extent. Not perfect. A lot of critique to be made about hip hop and music industry, etc. But there were standards. And then Drake came and broke all those standards. And once upon a time, that just meant you had to be like Flow Rider or something. Jason Derulo. You know what I mean? You could do a rap thing, but you were not like over here with us. But Drake was so good and made so much money that he was pulled in with everything else eventually. And then nobody could say shit because he was now the #1 rapper in the game. And I guess last year was relatively a rough year critically for him. And then Kendrick has always been a rival. And from what I can glean from Kendrick's music and his like persona, which is relatively little because he doesn't talk much, he's been waiting for this moment. It's very clear that this was highly anticipated on his end.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. Yeah. So last bout, obviously, like I've talked about this so much over the course of the past, I would say longer than 24 hours, but some of the things I wanted to run by you specifically, to clear up miscommunication. As you know, I have a very Caucasian audience. And one thing that I wanted to broach, one thing that I wanted to talk about that I mentioned to them as well is that like, that the two things. One, Kendrick Lamar is not talking about Drake being biracial, but instead, being more so a culture vulture. And yes. I think that this last song, have you listened to Not Like Us yet, by the way?
Oh yeah, like 12 times already.
Okay, yes.
Because it's a jam. And it's much easier to listen to than last night's harmful therapy section.
Last night's drop, Meet the Grams, was like, it had like too much of a ominous energy associated with it. So it was great that Kendrick Lamar also then was like, almost felt like he was talking to the, it almost felt like he was saying like to the Drake writers that, you know, he can make a club hit as well. Like he can make a song that's uplifting.
He dropped it just in time to make sure people would listen to it on their way to the club tonight.
Yeah,
like to ensure that this will get a extreme rollout and become a historical jam that people will dance. This is the first real, even though like technically this is a back-to-back, whatever. Technically this is that, but this is the first real back-to-back. If you're going to compare this to Drake's record back-to-back, because really, if you go back to that record, it's not as legendary of a diss track for its actual content. It's more so because it was just such a banger that you could play it at a club and it would set the party off, you know. But to answer, so to address that, yeah, so that discourse, you know, went left, and it's, you know, you should really watch, or, you know, plug in. I did an Ole and Friends with Ole, and a couple of other creators, like 2 days ago, and it's already out of date. Fuck, about this whole thing, and what we talked about was that Drake has a really unique arc in his fandom. He starts out pretty openly pandering to Black women, right?
Yes.
Pretty, you know, I won't say shamelessly, because it was still soft boy misogyny. I was never mad at him pandering and like being like more half an R&B artist, etc. But like, he was definitely seen as a guy who, you know, made music that Black women could appreciate genuinely. You know what I'm saying? Because there's like a culture of, we're gonna make music for the ladies, but it's still not really for the ladies. Whereas Drake, he genuinely seemed to get what women wanted to hear in his music, right?
Yeah.
And then I would say after the Meek Mill beef, there's a hard shift in his tone and persona as he more and more starts getting into this like edgy boy meme lord persona. And that's where we see the more weird, you know, outfits and hairstyles. And he starts, you know, collaborating with academics and, you know, like legit, that's what it is. And he starts memeing all the time. And then he's starting to get into like the type of fan culture that you would see for like an Elon Musk or, you know, Kanye, right?
Kanye, yeah.
But for him, it's very deliberate, and he's cultivating it like very purposefully, that type of energy and atmosphere. Because one thing I'll give Drake is that he has a amazing foresight in what's going to be significant in pop culture. Like, he gets called he's called a clout chaser, but it's honestly not super fair, because by the time you're aware that a wave or like a big movement is happening in hip hop, he's already there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like grime, like UK drill, like all of this stuff. One could make the argument that it was already popping, but it was never like he would be the force that would mainstream it even way further.
Right.
But he definitely still, in my opinion, was obviously like he did with dancehall.
Right.
Like he would just like pick and choose. He would be like, okay, I'm this now. I'm gonna do this now. I'm gonna tackle this. And it was in a weird way.
Is the thing.
Yeah, it was very exploitative. It wasn't like in an appreciative manner. And I think that same exact underlying philosophy is represented with even OVO as a label, with many of the young artists that he like brought under his wing, only to just like squander their talent and only to basically just keep them from shining.
To be fair to Drake, that is like a tradition in hip hop.
Yeah.
That's literally like,
people said that about Kanye too.
Yeah, that's hip hop as a capitalist, you know, microcosm of capitalism. Because most rappers cannot get rich off of being a rapper. The way to get truly rich is to find other rappers to siphon money out of permanently and own their shit. That's why every rapper has a label. Like Drake was signed to Lil Wayne, who was signed to Baby, who was signed to, like, that was what that line was in Euphoria. You know what I'm saying? So it only makes sense that he would repeat the process himself. But so to get back to that thing, all right, so there's a great point that we all kind of congealed together in that Olay conversation, which is the meme lord fan base is obviously predominantly white and completely like detached from hip hop, like as a tradition, and not just the culture, but like the traditions and like the again the standards, etc.
Is the Ole Miss frat boys doing monkey sounds at the black lady at the pro-Palestinian protest? Like that is
they love Drake.
That is the quintessential Drake audience, the Naperville kids, as I like to call them. Yes. Similar structure to like a lot of drill fans as well in general that will love egging on rappers and demanding like listening to all the
Banning
DJ
blood,
Academics
yeah.
drops about Chirac, right?
Exactly. Which is why DJ Academics probably has as white of a fan base as you do,
Yeah.
believe it or not. Um,
Well,
and
he's in the
so
fan base as well. Apparently, he once told me, he said he watches my videos.
yeah, but didn't know you were a socialist, which was really funny.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
like challenged you. That was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Is that like he wanted to caution you? He was like, "Hey, Hasan, you're
Yeah,
starting to sound like a socialist, buddy.
yeah.
Be careful."
In the
And
process of also defending Tory Lanez
Donald,
against
yeah.
the whole
Uh,
Megan Thee Stallion stuff.
but yeah, so that's where the real culture vulture thing comes from. Because what Drake does, so Drake's, like we said, is cynical. There's no real heart in his music. There used to be a little bit, but it really left again after that Meek Mill era. And what he does, because his persona is so like vapid and soulless, it's the perfect invitation for a Naperville boy, where you can come in, you could feel black, you can say the N-word, you can, drink and do drugs and get some girls, and you could feel like, we talked about this before. A big part of, not to get too serious for a second, but a big part of how racism works is also like this explicit consumption of blackness.
Yeah,
It's a double-edged sword for hip hop. Hip hop only exists at the level it does because white people want to consume it and be subsumed in it. And so Drake did that perfectly because you can't, like, if you're a Naperville boy, you're not really gonna subsume yourself in DMX, right?
yeah.
You're not even really gonna subsume yourself in the drill too tough. You want to see them do it, but you're not gonna put yourself in there because you know it's a distance. But Drake is like, hey, we're really close. We're really close.
I think because of his background too, like being Canadian and like growing up with a white family, child actor, upper middle class, like all
Right.
of that.
Well, no, to be fair, like, and I actually want to dispel that because hip hop has a history of biracial rappers. None of them move like Drake. J. Cole is biracial. J.
Yeah,
Cole has a white mother, and nobody talks about J. Cole the way they talk about Drake because of the way Drake behaves and has cultivated his persona and fan base.
I meant like his like socio-political development overall in the environment that he grew up in. I think like almost perfectly mirrors like someone who is not like so far off in their experiences from the average Naperville person that they are like impossible to identify with. And
Right.
I mean, I would even go so far as to say like maybe even early Kanye West like might have had an impact in a similar capacity because like his background is also like more affluent than someone like Chief Keef, you know what I mean? Like
Definitely.
the mother is a college professor, like
I was also a college professor for
yeah,
Kanye. We're talking about.
yeah. So
Um,
it's like I feel like it makes it more consumable and more identifiable from a parasocial perspective for a lot of white kids. And obviously, white kids are the dominant force in all kind of culture consumption, right? Because there's
right.
just more white kids than there are anyone else.
Yeah. If you
So
want to make money, you got to sell to well, you don't necessarily have to sell to the Naperville boys, but maybe they're,
yeah,
bohemian inner city cousins or they're, Hicktown cousins. You got to get one of them if you want to make the big bucks.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's why like that plays a role in like just like I think Taylor Swift's upbringing, development, her attitude, the way she carries herself, and everything she does is like is wildfire for white women in general and the gays. I feel like Drake also hits that perfect vector for like every like the broadest subsect of society that is going to be interested in pop culture. Um,
Right.
and he
And
really leaned into it.
but here's the thing, and here's an important thing. Generally speaking, as a like black artist and black artistry in that history, that's not something that will be critiqued heavily because it's understood if you are black and you're making a thing and you're trying to be successful, at some point you will have to open yourself up to the consumption habits of a white audience. This is something I've talked about a lot personally. I talk about it with other Black creators, and it's kind of like a management of what are you comfortable with? How do you feel? There's certain topics I don't talk about. There's certain topics I wish I never talked about, so on and so forth. The critique, though, is especially with hip hop, because hip hop was essentially, well, I'll argue that it was the revolutionary aspect of hip hop died as soon as it became a commercial endeavor, but its inception and its energy and its persona, even if it wasn't valid, was still this revolutionary discourse that emerged out of Black and brown struggle. And so it has a tradition, even in its most commercial moments. Even someone like Lil Wayne, who was like a MAGA hat goofball now, had songs criticizing the government, criticizing Hurricane Katrina response by George Bush, etc. And Drake has never even been close to that. We may have 2 or 3 bars in the history of Drake's catalog that have in any way been I don't know, resistant to the status quo or addressing, Black issues. And so to do that within hip hop is blasphemous. And the fact that he got away with it, to bring it full circle, the fact that he's been the #1 rapper in whatever shape or form for 15 years and has never spoken on Black issues for a lot of Black consumers of hip hop, especially those who are older, who like have a sense of value to those older ways, it's really galling to kind of see. And I think that's also how Kendrick felt. I think that's why Kendrick has now released 4 songs. And at this point, I'm pretty sure we're getting like at least 6. And he hinted in the song it might be 10.
Yeah.
So it's a wild moment,
He's had it loaded up in the chamber for a while, it seems like, sitting in the chamber. Van Lathan had a really interesting take on this that I think you will agree with. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Does Chad, do you guys have that?
Van Lathan's 50-50. I'm 50-50 with Van Lathan.
Well,
as you can imagine.
Yeah.
But he might be right on this one.
I think he's right on this one. And also, I think like I just remember Van because like a bunch of my old coworkers used to work with him at TMZ back when I was at the Young Turks, and he was the first person to call out Kanye. Like pretty much before anybody else. He was like, no, this is like, no, this is unacceptable. This is going really bad. But where is it? Let me see if I can find it. Because he was, oh yeah, here it is. He says, here, I'll share the screen with you as well.
Yeah, I want to read that on screen when we get a chance, because that I think is the essence of what's happening here. But show me the Van Lathan joint.
Here, he says, Kendrick doesn't just hate Drake. Kendrick legit thinks Drake is the villain of the culture.
This is Van Lathan.
Oh, yeah.
I sent this to you just now.
Oh, you just sent it to me just now? Okay, yeah.
Yes.
He despises not just Drake, but the idea that Drake exists. Like, Kendrick hates that someone could be Drake. He wants no more Drakes forever.
That is it. That is it. Like, I don't want to do a whole hip hop is dead diatribe. Because hip hop dying isn't Drake's fault individually. Drake is just a symptom of essentially hip hop plus late capitalism, hip hop plus, technocratic encroachment on everything in our life and art, etc. But he is like the poster child for it. And so the fact that he can exist is to some people an offense on the very concept of what hip hop is and what it's supposed to be. Excuse me. And I know that sounds ridiculous because, hip hop is very much a high art, but also a low art. The history of hip hop is full of a lot of bad shit and a lot of bad people. Kendrick himself has some L's that people are bringing up as he kind of rallies against Drake. That some things come off hypocritical.
Working with Kodak Black and also, the
R. Kelly stuff.
The R. Kelly stuff. The R. Kelly stuff, I still like. I get, like, I think it's a cop out. His answer was a cop out in that moment, but like, I feel like what he was saying is like, there's literally songs about pedophilia from active pedophiles who have done pedophilia in their lives that white people love to sing along to. And we cherish like revered musicians, like respected musicians for many, many decades. you know, and wife abusers and whatnot.
Yeah, and that's kind of the other thing, is that judging hip hop by that standard is, I'm not going to say inherently anti-black, as to not piss off whatever moderates and normies are going to watch this, but it doesn't make sense in the face of every other form of music and art and entertainment. You know what I'm saying? Like, every other form of music and art and entertainment has the same misogynistic subculture, comes from the same corrupt, exploitative industry standards.
No, this is the same exact energy as like black people have a real problem with homophobia. It's like, have you seen the country? Like, what are you talking about?
Right,
like,
right.
Exactly. Singling out black people as though like it is a black community exclusive issue, political issue, just like looking at rap music and being like, it promotes really bad things. And has a real, you know, misogyny problem.
As if you got rid of black art, then we would just have this clean, you know, it's giving Nick Fuentes with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even now, like, you know, black
it's
people
not
are
Nick
going to lose the
Fuentes.
election.
It's not as Nick Fuentes, but it's more like, I mean, I don't know if you agree. I think you and I might have talked about this, but it's like there is a subsect of even black academia that or journalists that like specifically write exactly this for liberals to also feel racially superior, that to give liberals the same permission that like maybe in not the same explicit terms that Candace Owens gives like white supremacists, but like there is this idea of like the reinforcing the stereotype, especially of the violent, angry black man. But from the perspective that like liberals,
it's also the same reason why we're still dealing with, you know, black men are going to vote Republican this year again. Like, we've dealt with that narrative for every year since Obama. We've dealt with that narrative, and every year it's been proven false. But they still keep bringing it out because it's a hit. It's like pizza to white liberals, you know, for them not to face their own shortcomings, etc.
Yeah, it's like 52% of white women voted for Donald Trump and like are voting consistently for Donald Trump. The 8% movement is not going to be all too significant in the grand scheme of things. I do think that there is like, I think that the trend line even shifting in any direction is still significant because it shows the inaction from the Democratic Party. Like, that's my analysis on it, at least. I think that the Democratic Party's like lack of interest in actually offering black people anything is like causing people to actively move away from the Democratic Party, either completely being disillusioned with the political process entirely, or even move in the other direction as well because of the overarching resentment that they feel. But it's still completely insignificant. It's completely marginal in the grand scheme of things, especially when you look at broader trends and what the... It's the same shit with like MAGA is the real working class movement narrative. Here, I'll use a broader analysis that's faulty that like liberals will understand. People always say, oh, MAGA is the real working class movement. And it's like the Republican Party has always and will always not only openly advocate for the needs of the rich, but also the voter demographics show that like wealthy people still do in higher percentages vote Republican than they vote Democrat. So the notion that like the MAGA Republicans are actually the real working class in America is a faulty one. It's just it's just a minor change.
Yeah, my analysis of black voters is that it's been very much candidate based. Like, one of the biggest blows to this false narrative last cycle was here in Atlanta with Stacey Abrams, who lost but had a higher percentage of black male voters than any Democratic candidate for anything like in the country. And so, like, you know, Obama, like one slick shitty trick I saw CNN pull. Actually, shout out to Van Lathan again. Look at you, Van Lathan. I'm giving you all kinds of coins today. Van Lathan actually was saying similar thing to me right now in this little segment, in that this black man going to vote Republican thing is not really backed up by data or history, and it's kind of some bullshit. He even implicated Russian whatever, which actually, like, I know they found proof of that. They found proof that Russians have been like, I think Tariq Nasheed is a Russian operative. Like, that's a theory I'm gonna
really
on. If you ask me, I have no proof of this. This is all
my
slander.
God, I love that.
But
awesome.
I think Tariq Nasheed is a Russian operative. I think his entire ADOS FBA movement is some shit that
it is definitely reactionary. The ADOS movement is like, for sure, the separation.
Yeah. And so but anyway, but going back to Lathan, And then like what they did to kind of like to get it over, media trickery. They showed what the black male vote was for Obama, and then moved it just to Trump, but they didn't show anything before Obama, right? So what it looked like was a steady decline from Obama to Trump, or from Obama to Biden, I should say, right? And so yes, Obama had record level black male and black voter turnout. But everything before Obama looked exactly as it did pretty much for Biden and Trump. Like that's a blip, outlier on the scale. And then it's all kind of leveled out since the 70s, since the fucking Southern strategy,
Yeah. But Obama also won the first time ever for the Democrats, the Cuban vote. So, and it'll never happen again because young Cubans voted for him in overwhelming numbers. So like,
I didn't even know that. He
was an outlier for so many different things. I still think like Trump is also in many respects an outlier as well for a lot of inactive voters too. In the same, so I say like Trump is the white man's Obama. Like he is Barack Obama for white supremacists. Like
Trump did get an increase in black vote, male and female, but if I'm not mistaken, in 2020 he actually had the only, if I'm not mistaken, the only population, and this is why I'm not voting for Biden, bullshit aside. I'm not as fearful of Biden not winning, because the reason why Trump lost last year was because of white moderates. If what I remember reading was correct.
No, absolutely. And he's still suffering. I mean, Trump is still suffering in that demographic significantly.
Yeah. And that's what makes the biggest difference. It'd be nice if there was a candidate that didn't, gross people out, but I don't want to get into voter discourse. I already got in trouble with some of my mentors.
But getting back to Kendrick Lamar.
Indeed.
So the thing I wanted to mention is that as far as like Drake's presentation, like there's a lot of older videos where he like talks about black culture almost as like being repulsed by it. But I don't think that's even what like Kendrick Lamar is showcasing, but instead like how he is a culture vulture or feels insecure about his background, his identity, not because of his white parents, but white parent, but instead about the fact that he was not, like he didn't have the same lived experiences that other people have in the space. And beyond that, he's
very bitter and insecure about it.
Yeah.
Which is, go ahead, we'll finish you.
Well, beyond that, he's also like obviously, picking and choosing. He makes a lot of inferences to Dennis and the fact that there's like a mutually beneficial but simultaneously manipulative relationship between him and his dad. His dad came back into his life when he made it big, when he got rich, because he wanted money and fame and clout. I mean, I've seen Dennis a lot out and about when I used to go out in nightclubs in Los Angeles. Like he was always out.
And isn't there an open, like, isn't it openly known that he's like extorted him for money, for lack of a better word of putting it?
I think so, yeah. So there's that, and then claiming that like Drake is also like I guess like parading him around, just like Pusha T had said, specifically to like solidify his blackness, to prove that he is like he is, he's a black man, which he of course he is. One aspect of this that I tried to communicate to my Caucasian audience was that I guess the negative consequence, the one negative consequence of this beef is that like there's a lot of white people that consume this stuff, myself included, that will not feel comfortable being like, Drake is not black, Drake is a white man. And it's like, and that's not true.
Yeah, that's not true. That's your boy Tariq Nasheed isms. I don't even know if he's on that. Like that actually is a different reactionary. I don't know what to make of that. I've really struggled to try to make sense of that particular movement, because that is completely foreign to me in my entire black.
Dr. Umar disagrees, by the way, for the record.
Right, even Dr. No. Yeah. Dr. Umar would say that Drake is black. Dr. Umar would not. So me and Dr. Umar agree.
He's the former, and he's my authority on these matters. Like I as Yakub's mistake, I cannot make these claims and assertions, but he has. He says he would say that Drake is black. If you're biracial, you're still black, unless unless he snatches Drake's melanin for doing something,
which is possible knowing Dr. Umar. Because what it is that what people don't get and need to get is that blackness is not a biological distinction. It's not a phenotype. It's a social distinction. It's a cultural and ethnic lineage and experience, right? It's complex because it's a fucking color. You know, I don't know what actual African nation I'm from. I'm sure it's West Africa. I think it's Sierra Leone, but I honestly don't know. I'd have to do some 23andMe shit to figure that out. And that is a large chunk of Black Americans in America, right? And so what Black is becomes this much more complex tapestry of features and engagements and experiences, one of which includes being the Black person apart from Black community. That's still a Black experience. That is, like, in fact, a very significant Black experience, because you're probably, and this is like, people just follow me here for a second. You're more Black, not in terms of like, oh, you know, slang and I don't know, fucking eat certain foods and play basketball.
You're talking to a lot of people in my chat with that, I think, with this analysis.
Yeah, you're more Black isn't necessarily you are more engaged with Black cultural aesthetics and ideology, but you are experiencing what it means to be Black a lot if you are the only Black person in your community. If you are a Drake, where you are going into, I believe Drake did come up in a working class. He was like somewhat connected to a working class Black immigrant community in Canada, but he went to school and then like obviously did Degrassi, so he was very much apart from that aesthetic as well. And then also because Drake was the child of a Black American and not the child of a Black immigrant, that was also going to be a disconnect because he's like double minoritized in that situation. But to finish my point, you can feel, I'm pretty sure J. Cole, well, not J. Cole, I don't know. I can't think of any good examples that are rappers, because most biracial rappers came up within Black communities. But I wouldn't say that Drake's experience is not part of a Black experience. To me, it's very much a Black experience. The problem is that specific Black experience has a high propensity to teach anti-Black sentiments, to ingrain an individual anti-Black sentiments, because everybody Black, including someone like me who had a deep and rich Black cultural experience, we can't not pick up anti-Black tendencies living and growing up in America. It's just, that is literally the status quo of our media, our politics, yada yada yada. So there's this almost natural inclination, a phase that a lot of Black people go through, where they try to find a way to distance themselves from Blacks. I'm not Black, I'm OJ is the Jay-Z phrase. And so when you're the only Black person, that's probably intensified because you have and you have a white mama and your Black daddy's not around. So you have literally no one to point to engage you in your Blackness in a positive way. So you're constantly trying to deflect Blackness. And you see that in how Drake talked about Black culture at earlier points in his career.
Yeah.
And Black people who are from a Black, more communal experience, we have pretty good radar for that shit. Like, we can catch that pretty much immediately when you have like strong anti-Black tendencies. And we say, oh, you one of them. And there's immediate distance, there's immediate pushback, and Drake experienced that.
It's like a survival mechanism that is built around, like, at least what I've seen amongst my Black friends that grow up in overwhelmingly Black communities versus my Black friends that have grown up in like white and even sometimes not even like fully white, but just like still brown and white environments, where being like the only Black person in that environment causes like it's like almost like a survival mechanism. It's a different attitude overall. A different way to represent yourself.
The collective like survival instinct is inclined, sometimes unfairly, to ostracize those individuals who have that stench on them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, you say the hardy R and you don't realize it. So we kind of see what you're
talking about, Drake. I didn't.
Yeah, we're all talking about Drake, and but a lot of other
I did not know that video existed. It was a shocking video that I saw when he was young.
There's a ton of them. When Drake, the most cringe Drake video. Let's do a quick Drake cringe fest. Go do Drake Sway freestyle. Well, not just Drake Blackberry freestyle. Drake Blackberry freestyle. This is when he lost everyone, and he should have never recovered from this.
Is it Funk Flex? Funk Flex.
Yeah, Funk Flex. Yes, I forgot who the DJ was. Oh my god! So pause. Let me set the stage. Look at him. Look at this fucking dork.
Yeah. Yeah, this is.
Oh my god! You gotta watch when I bounce, or maybe tomorrow. You gotta watch my dork Drake video. But so
is this like the Sprite commercial era where his face opens up?
This is the Sprite.
Yeah.
Yes. So Drake, you know, and I have to be complicit in this. I was not always a Drake hater. His first mixtape, So Far Gone, was in that Kanye vein of like, hey, we have this new version of hip hop that's a little less, you know, street, a little more, you know, melodic, a little more vibes, a little more emotionally, you know, engaged, a little less hardcore. So me, I want to be clear and honest that I am not from the hood. People sometimes think that because they're probably racist. But black folks can tell when I talk and the way I talk about certain things. And so like there's a generation in the culture of young black men who didn't quite feel as connected to DMX and Tupac as they did to Kanye and initially Drake, right? So Drake has his first mixtape. He's doing his best he can to get seen. He's getting rejected regularly, but Kanye does his first single that they were just playing. What is that fucking called? Baby, my everything, you know, I have whatever the fuck that is.
Yeah.
And so now he's here. He's here. He's got a hit single. We at least got to let him ride out this hit single and see what happens. He gets invited to Funk Flex. He's
Best I Ever Had is the name of the song.
Best I Ever Had. Thank you. He's well spoken. He's light skinned. He is unoffensively black, which means he's gonna get opportunities because they know that he can cross over like he eventually does. So here he is at Funk Flex. And Funk Flex freestyle is like, at the time especially, that is like a rite of passage for like, if you want to be an elite rapper and taken seriously in the culture, you come to New York, you get on Funk Flex, and you spit some bars, right? And you can find so many other rappers doing this. J. Cole has a ridiculous, we'll watch his after this to kind of like notice the difference. What he does here is the most cringe thing anybody's ever seen. So just skip ahead. So like, I want to get the beginning. So
and then I'll skip to the
movie. Yeah. In HD. Yeah. Young. What up? 1080p's the film.
What is he doing right now? What is he doing?
Monday.
Yeah. He's got a Blackberry in his hand. What are you doing, Drake?
I'm here, man. I'm ready. I remember listening the last time I listened to one of these.
He's turning up the black set.
You know, the boy said something. He said, Flex, let me touch the city. Let him know where it's at. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. Can I do that? You want to do that? Can I do that? Hold up. Turn his mic up a little bit. Can I do that?
Let's skip ahead like 30 seconds.
Can I do that? Okay, tell him to, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, yeah. Young, I got you. Look, I say young money to the young boy dying out. You hear me crying out.
What is he doing?
You see me riding
what is he
out.
doing wrong?
And if your man get the stunt,
you
we'll
get
buy
one
him
black
out.
point if you understand what he's doing wrong here.
I mean, I don't know. Is it that he's speaking from his? He's reading from his BlackBerry. Is that what it is?
Yes. Like, this is horrifying, and he does it the whole time. Like, go ahead, keep going.
You're not okay.
Because we be living what these other rappers lying about. Drizzy Drake, what? Funk Flex, Hot 97. I'm so far gone.
It's bad still.
Yeah, I'm just getting started. Here we go. Look. Feeling good, feeling great. How you though? Bet you hear my name every single place that you go.
He does not put the BlackBerry down.
Wait, what is it? I feel like this is where it gets real bad. Right here,
It's the
then.
in your face, all offensive on purpose flow. My city never effing need me. Yeah, oh wait, no, they really need me. Oh wait, hold up, young effing Wheezy. Holla at me when you done effing Wheezy. Yeah, okay, it's young.
Oh my God! Wait, didn't he literally?
Oh shit!
Oh, what the fuck? He did actually. He did actually
Holy
fuck
shit.
Lil Wayne's girl. That's crazy.
Wow, that's some deep lore.
I know, which
that
Kendrick
we just
addressed.
unearthed
Kendrick brought up
just
in the.
Because I didn't know that was there. It looks like some other people did because that has like a high replay there. So I guess that was something that people in the know remembered hearing. Oh God, and we haven't even gotten to him the person, and that's the funny thing. I didn't think Drake was like, I had heard and seen all the really creepy shit he did, and giving him the benefit of the doubt, I just figured because he was just like such a cringe lord and a clout chaser that he would text a 15-year-old girl to have a relationship just so she could say his name on a red carpet. You know what I'm saying? Like that is what my perspective was with a lot of his.
Wait, hold up.
Stuff.
Fantano's calling. Do you fuck with Fantano? Do you know him?
Yeah. I've been texting him back and forth this whole time.
Hold on. He's calling me right now. Hold on 1 second. Fantano, I'm live with FD Signifier right now. If you want to get on a Discord call with us.
Yeah, I'm on Discord now. Just call me.
All right, perfect. I'm gonna add you onto the call.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Hold on. Let's do this. Let's bring Anthony Fantano, internet's busiest music nerd, into the fold. Hold on. Add friends to the DM. It might open up another like chat for you on your end, just so you know. Here. Oh yeah, it did. Okay.